On the final day of campaigning for Cambodia's national election, the world's longest-serving Prime Minister Hun Sen was a no-show. Taking his place as the man of the hour, his son, the army's commanding general, Hun Sen, widely considered as likely to take the place of his father as the country's next leader. Their party's victory is all but assured after the National Election Commission disqualified the Candlelight Party for missing paperwork, eliminating what analysts say was the only credible challenge to the governing party. The international community has condemned the election as a sham.
Election itself is not just about the procedure, but it's also looking at the element of representation, whether the political party are free to take part into election.
Hun Sen's Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, points to the participation of smaller opposition parties as a sign that democracy is alive and that an election will take place.
The Khmer National United Party is making one final push ahead of Sunday's general election. They're one of 17 other political parties challenging Hun Sen's party. But the question is any one of them strong enough to beat the ruling party?
In 2013, the Cambodian National Rescue Party posed a serious challenge to the CPP, but its leaders are now either in exile or under house arrest, and the party dissolved. The Candlelight Party consists of its remnants.
Multi-party democracy is not about the number of political parties. It's about the competition between the political party, and they could compete with each other on an equal footing field.
The government also passed a law barring anyone who boycotts the election or encourages others to do so from running in future elections.
Preventing people from voting is illegal because it violates their rights. To counter the deceit of opposition groups living abroad, the government amended the election law.
Opposition leaders who remain in the country say they'll vote, even if their votes don't make a difference. They say they haven't given up on a free and fair election in the future. Barnaby, Al Jazeera, Phnom Penh.
Sebastian Strangillo is the Southeast Asia editor at The Diplomat magazine, and he wrote the book Cambodia, From Pol Pot to Hun Sen and Beyond. Joins us now live from Adelaide in South Australia. Good to have you with us. So authorities would point to what they say 17 political parties taking part in this election. Just how democratic is it, though?
Well, none of these parties will pose any sort of threat to the CPP, Hun Sen's party. They're either aligned with the CPP or they're simply too small and have few resources to mount any sort of meaningful challenge. The only party that had any chance of winning seats off the CPP was barred from participating. That was the Candlelight Party, which is associated with parties led by Sam Rainsy, who currently is in exile. So this really will be a one-horse race, despite the presence of these 16 other small parties.
All right, so not a lot of doubt that Hun Sen is expected to win this. Is the focus more on what he does with his win, particularly when it comes to the question of succession?
That's it. This election is all about enshrining Hun Sen's political legacy. Now, part of that is initiating a transfer of power to his son. This is something that's been in the works for a long time in Cambodia, but is a potentially fraught exercise with various power centers within the CPP potentially unhappy with the fact that Hun Sen is handing over power to his son rather than one of them. I think that there's a need, or Hun Sen perceives a need, to inaugurate Hun Manet's prime ministership with an acclamatory show of public support. And so this, I think, explains the extent to which the CPP has gone to eradicating all forms of opposition prior to this election, even though few of those opposition parties would have threatened it in any serious way.
And how key is China's support for the continuity in Cambodia's power structure?
It's hard to say. It's very hard to judge public opinion in Cambodia. There's very few polls, and those that are conducted can't be said to be particularly accurate. I think that the CPP, there is probably a baseline of there has been support for the CPP for its role in ending the Khmer Rouge genocide and bringing about a certain degree of normalcy ending the civil war, bringing basic stability and development to the country. But what we've seen over the past decade and a half is a real desire for change among younger Cambodians. The 2013 election was quite close run. And I think the CPP and Hun Sen since then have moved to prevent any sort of opposition surge from happening. And they've used...
If I could jump in there,
what
I'm trying to get at is in terms of the international, so we have an international audience, in terms of foreign relations and the support from China vis-a-vis where its relations stand with the West, how important is support from Beijing in what happens in this succession process for the continuity of the power structure in Cambodia?
It's been absolutely vital. Previously, Hun Sen's government was reliant on development assistance from the West, and that imposed certain limits on how far Hun Sen could go to manipulate Cambodian politics, to eliminate his opponents, and to shape things according to his liking. But with Chinese support, he's been able to go much further than in the past. So ahead of the 2018 election, he abolished the main opposition party at the time, the Cambodian National Rescue Party, which performed very well in 2013, as I mentioned. And the CPP won all 125 seats in the National Assembly. He was able to do this because China provided economic support, but also diplomatic backing when Western governments threatened to punish the Cambodian government or to impose sanctions of one kind or another.
All right, and briefly, what are the main concerns for people? Poverty, corruption?
Corruption has been a huge issue in Cambodia. It's something, if you talk to ordinary people, you hear a lot of bitterness about. People also, jobs, basic infrastructure, these are important issues, particularly for the young. There's a lot of Cambodians graduating university now that are graduating into a job market which is not particularly auspicious. And I think that this is something that, the CPP, because the economy is based so heavily on garment manufacturing and tourism, there's a lot of graduates that don't have a lot of opportunities. And this has been an issue. I think that, those sorts of bread and butter issues really are the main concerns for most people. But, an election like this where they don't really have a choice, it's hard to say whether those demands will be satisfied or not.
All right. Thanks so much for your thoughts on that, Sebastian Strangio.
Thanks.